We continue meeting interesting people at the Job Summit. We have bumped into a person by the name of Upenyu Magodoro, who unfortunately doesn't drink. It seems as if nobody drinks at this summit. Is it that you don't drink or you're not drinking today?
I am drinking water.
Bless. Okay, history is on. You're a teacher
Yes,
at High Achievers College.
exactly.
You've been here with some of your students, trying to guide them, I guess, on careers. Before we get to that, what do you teach?
I do teach history
Up to what level?
up to advanced level.
Okay. Yeah, I did A-level history. Did you? No, you did sciences, huh?
No, yeah.
A-level history is actually fun. Eh? You should go and do it for fun. You learn a lot of interesting things. We did a course called World Affairs since 1919. But you were telling me earlier it's no longer since 1919.
It's about the syllabus. You choose since 1919, since 1945. So I chose from 1945 up to 1991.
Until Perestroika.
Yes. You,
In
eh,
Glasnost.
you know it.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know
a student
everything.
of history myself.
Yes. So during the Cold War, we're looking at the Cold War up to the final demise of USSR on the 25th of December 1991.
He's like a teacher, eh?
Well, he is a teacher.
And so you don't touch the ancient African kingdoms.
Yeah,
You don't talk about Samora Ture,
that one is
Lewanika.
another option whereby you can choose to teach your kids West Africa, where you talk of the Mandinika Empire under Samori Ture, and you talk of Ghana, you talk of the Gold Coast, you talk of Egypt. It is also another section because history has got different sections.
So,
From
but
section A up to
why don't
section-
you guys teach our youngsters about the great African kingdom?
It will be taught, but it will be taught from checkpoint. That is Form 1, Form 2. Form 3, Form 4 will be simply saying, let them do world affairs. Then Form 5, Form 6, let them do international affairs. So that they have got a broad understanding of Zimbabwe as a country, Africa as a continent, and the world as a global village.
But can it be right that my learned friend here knows everything about Churchill, but I'm even willing to bet a bottle of whiskey right now. He knows nothing about Samora Ture. Do you know anything about Samora Ture?
Nope. I don't.
So how does that make sense? He knows everything about British history. But, and I mean, I'll be surprised. Maybe it's even worth running a poll on our Twitter. How many of our viewers have ever heard of Samora Ture?
But the bottom line is, it's not about knowing Samori Ture. It's not about knowing Churchill. What is it that we are imparting on our students? The art of leadership. Samori Ture was a leader. Churchill was a leader.
But which one is more relevant to me?
Everyone, or both of them, they are relevant because we talk of leadership. We talk of the exit skills at the end of our curriculum. What is it that we have imparted on our students in terms of leadership, communication, problem solving, innovation, etc.
But shouldn't they be relevant, contextual relevant? Because
So, what relevance do you see? Like, maybe you should answer your own question.
No, well, yes. I mean, I will. I was trying to make. I want to call him Sir now, you know, because he's like in that. I want to make Sir here think about some things because I read about Churchill. I learn about these things to do with Churchill, with Roosevelt, and whatever. Then I turn the picture in that book. What's it called? Do you guys still use that book? It's not Meredith. The main text for O-level history when we were in school. What was it called?
We used Peter Moss when we were still students.
Yeah, I'll remember that one. But Peter Moss was one. But okay, so I turn the page in Peter Moss, or even if I'm reading a Meredith book, and I see a picture of Churchill. And I see a context of an English garden. It's easy for me, when I'm now a leader, to discard those lessons because they don't resonate. I can easily discard them and say, but that doesn't apply in Zimbabwe. Whereas, if I saw actual photos of the Makoni Kings, the famous ones, and I saw a man who looks like me in an environment I relate with. If I saw a real photo of Lo Bengula in an environment I relate with, then I can take some of those leadership lessons and internalize them. And it's a harder model for me to run away from and say it doesn't apply to me.
I'd say that's a very woke worldview. I think that, you know, you can learn as much from Winston Churchill as you can from Genghis Khan or Shaka Zulu or Lo Bengula. It really doesn't matter what they look like. And people who make this case that you need to have role models that look like you, you know, it's an intellectually bankrupt idea. It doesn't matter. I mean, most people don't know that the numerals that we use, you know, the reason they're Arabic, right? They were invented by Arabs,
Yes.
right? Does it matter at all? Would you know, if can you imagine if Europeans decided to go with the old Roman numerals because they were invented by people who look like them? How, you know, it's an absurd idea, right? We want to get the best lessons, and sometimes they come from people who don't look like us.
Yes, the idea here is the fact that in as much as we want to relate with our local leaders, which is a very good thing, and students are also having such an opportunity.
He looks like such a history teacher, right?
To learn. No, I'm a history teacher. I don't look like a history teacher.
Yeah.
But knowledge is power. Like I said, we start at a local level. And one of the fundamental reasons why we study history is for us to relate the past in order for us to relate the future. And it doesn't matter which country, it doesn't matter who is being studied, what are the exit skills we are imparting to our learners. For example, if you talk of leadership today versus leadership yesterday, if we talk of African leaders versus European leaders, you can compare, you can deduce, and at the end, you can come up with your own conclusion. So the idea of studying African history or Zimbabwean history and the idea of studying European history is neither here nor there. But what are the exit skills we are imparting on our learners in terms of leadership, conflict resolution, in terms of communication?
Or
in
just
terms
things
of
that work or don't
innovation?
work, like socialism versus capitalism.
Yes. We are looking at systems. Was socialism okay? Was capitalism okay? Or is it still relevant given the circumstances that are obtaining? That is what is education.
Very, very interesting. Coming to the summit, did we pick up anything today that we think is of relevance, that is maybe is instructive? Exit skills. What are the exit skills we've picked up today?
Exactly. That is the reason why
I learned a new word. Exit
we
skills.
participated in the Job Summit, which was also organized by the corporate world. Mindful of the fact that learning does not take place in a classroom alone. We took our students to the Job Summit so that learning takes place outside the classroom. We want our learners to fit into the corporate world when they leave school. We want our learners to mix and mingle with those who have made it, those who are trying to make it in the corporate world, so that they can marry theory and practice in order to mold a total person. So the Job Summit that we had came at an opportune time when us as educational practitioners are teaching our learners certain exit skills so that they will be relevant in the job market.
What did we pick up today?
the fundamental aspect was the issue of entrepreneurship,
Mhm.
whereby we are supposed to be problem solvers. Opportunities are there, and opportunities, they also come from problems. So let us not cry that we do not have electricity, we do not have capital. Let's have the right mindset. Let's have the right attitude. It can be done, and it will be done by us. So let's take a solemn vow to say to ourselves, our own problems, we are able to solve them. How? Let's get started.
So you mentioned earlier that you yourself are entrepreneurial. Maybe you can shed a bit of light on that.
Of course, besides being a teacher, I was taught that you are not supposed to rely on a salary. The word salary, it comes from a Latin word, salaria, meaning salt. And by that time, Greek soldiers were given salt allowance, which was a precious commodity. So
At
they
the
were
time,
working for a salt allowance. And the definition of a salary to me, it's an estimation of my value by an employer. So what do? Create jobs. How? By becoming an entrepreneur. So that we have got more than 7 streams of income for you to survive in this world. That is what we were taught in the Job Summit.
You need 7 streams of income.
For you to survive in today's world. So it was a challenge for me. Because I do farming. I also do MC. I'm also a general dealer. I'm into the transport industry as well as an entrepreneur.
So you're on your way to 7.
So I am starting small, but I will get there pretty soon. Because today's summit was also another catalyst to my dream.
And is this going to now feed into your curriculum back at the school?
Definitely. Why? Because we do not want to produce educated citizens. We want to produce learned citizens. There's a difference between an educated person and a learned person. So these are practical skills, life skills, whereby we have an opportunity to meet the who's in Harare, in Zimbabwe, or in the region, giving us their practical experiences for where they are today. So what we learned today, what our kids learned today, definitely it will benefit them, definitely it is going to benefit us, definitely it will benefit society.
Okay, I'm going to change the topic a little bit because we've got you here and we're in exam season. Viewers will probably see this after the exam season. But we've had a few headlines over the past few weeks. Leaking exams and what we think is a very poor grade 7 pass rate, 40 odd percent.
Yeah, it's abysmal. It's worse than poor.
What's happening to our educational system? Where are we going wrong?
Why are the results so appalling?
Yes, I think we're talking about something in the 30s for O level.
So are you talking
and in the
about
teens of
results or maybe the leakage of examinations?
So all of the things are related because so the results thing just means that the sector as a whole is performing horribly, and the leaking thing means that it's got no integrity.
He didn't do arts, so he doesn't have tact. He uses bad words. He did sciences. he calls it a blue precipitate, or a grape. He calls it a grape precipitate. That's what it is. We call it smoke. Okay, so yes, carry on.
Yeah. So I was just framing the question for him to say, why? How did we get here? Because for sure, in the 1980s, we had much better results. and we seem to have gone backwards.
What I can say, I will not pinpoint who is wrong or who is right, but maybe from my own analysis is the aspect maybe of a system, because you're talking about something that did not happen during a particular period and something that appears to be common in today's world, particularly in Zimbabwe, the leakage of Zimbabwe School Examinations Council. And they are saying because of A, B, C, and D. It's the aspect of system. The system maybe of running examinations should be looked into by the relevant authorities so that they produce a watertight system in order to protect the integrity of examinations in this country. And I believe it is someone's job, and they are also, I believe that they are working flat out in order to...
I'll push back when you say it's a system. Both my parents were educators. My dad was a headmaster for nearly 40 years prior to his retirement. For the longest time, I knew that at a certain time of the year, my dad he was a headmaster in rural schools. He'd drive to Harare by himself, pick up exam papers, drive back to the school, put them in the safe, and exams would be written. And I presume the same thing was happening in all 8,000 schools in this country, or all 4,000 high schools in the country at that time. And some of those papers were even going on buses when schools didn't have cars and so on. But they never leaked. We now have a tighter system. I know in my rural village, I know this because there's a school close to my home, in my rural village. And I know this time of year, we have police very close because there's now ZRP presence at the school during exam season to make sure those papers don't leak. And yet they're leaking. So the system has actually got tighter.
I don't
Tighter
think
in
so.
quotation marks.
I don't think so, because if the system is now tighter, we are supposed to have less or no problems. So it is centered around the system of running examinations. And you have alluded to what used to happen at a particular period. Why can't we just revisit what used to happen when your father used to take those examinations? There is an aspect of value system. Maybe we have destroyed the integrity of these examinations. And integrity by that particular person who will be in charge of those examination papers. Maybe it is attributed to the economy. I do not know. But it is centered around the system. And when they start to sit down and interrogate their system, I think they will be able to come up with a tighter system, as you said. But like what you alluded to, it might be tighter in courts. Why is it that it is a perennial problem? They need to revisit. When they need to revisit those gray areas and panel beat those gray areas, I think we will have less problems, we will have less headlines about leakage of examinations that will actually affect the integrity of our education system in this country.
And the results?
Yeah. So, okay, I'll tell you my hypothesis on the results, on what they should be, and then maybe you can comment. Looking at the curricula, and also looking at the names of the various stages in our educational system, I believe that almost all students should pass grade 7 because it teaches basic literacy, numeracy, and science skills. I believe the majority of students should pass ordinary level because it's called ordinary. If a minority passes it, then it's not ordinary. Then I think it may be acceptable for a minority to pass the advanced level. And yet we have minorities passing from grade 7, which to me implies that at 13, the kids have not grasped basic literacy, numeracy, and basic science skills, science and social skills. First, do you share my view that this is a huge problem?
The issue of the majority passing grade 7 and the majority also passing what?
O-level.
O-level.
And the minority passing A-level.
Yes.
Is
Not,
it the
not
case?
should. Yes. Right now it's minority.
From grade 7 all the way.
40% pass grade 7. And in the percentages for O-level are usually in their 20s or 30s. And for A-level are in the teens of percent.
It's a disaster.
In terms of statistics, I think that one, I will comment if I have maybe proper statistics. So
We
that
can
will
talk about the
not-
40%.
We will not generalize the
We can
pass
talk about
rate,
the 40% at grade 7. This was in this week's newspaper.
because grade 7 results were published yesterday. Is that so?
Yeah, yes.
And they said 40% passed
Mm.
out of, I don't know the
40,
number.
40% is 40
Okay.
out of 100.
Out of
I know
maybe-
you teach history, so we will help you.
Yes,
it means out of
40
every 10 out
yes,
that wrote,
yes.
only 4 passed.
Yes, I was trying to maybe deduce that percentage, and then figures. It's relative. Why? Because we're talking about figures. What do you define by
No, but
a pass?
No, but that's why I started with. Do you agree that almost all children should pass grade 7?
It's neither here nor there. Why? Because we are looking at students who experienced certain challenges during their primary course. These students, at one point in time, they were under lockdown. These students who wrote in 2022. These students were introduced to online learning. These students did not have teachers for a considerable period because of the pandemic. So we need to consider the circumstances that obtained.
But should we let them through?
Yes.
So should we? So by the same token, should we let the doctors that trained during COVID
No,
pass with lower marks and perform surgeries?
no, we are saying we need to consider the circumstances
Yes.
surrounding
So-
that 40%.
So surgeons who trained during COVID should
And
be
they
allowed.
passed.
No, should be allowed to get certificates with lower marks.
And they passed.
No, the ones
Surgeon.
the ones who didn't should be allowed to become surgeons
If they
because
failed, they are supposed to repeat.
so they should have passed. We agree they should have
No,
passed.
no, the issue of
Do you think?
surgeons-
Okay, let me put it this way. Do you think that it's responsible? It's responsible to allow students who have had challenges and are not ready for a certain level of examination to actually sit?
But how do you
exams?
know that this particular child has got a challenge?
This is the point of color, continuous assessment.
But the idea of color is to make sure that maybe all students are supposed to pass because it's coursework. It's coursework.
So if the coursework
Imagine
tells you that the student is not ready, why let them sit the exam?
No, the issue of color, we are saying, let us assist these learners. At university, when you get into a particular exam, once your coursework is low, it's automatic that you are going to fail.
This is the same thing that we're seeing now. Because remember, the grade 7 result includes color.
But I don't know of a situation whereby one would like to enter a mark that is low when we have got ample time to correct those
So the
colors.
system is failing. Basically, that's what I'm hearing.
Meaning to say that I've answered the question already about the issue of the system.
Thank you very much, Upenyu. It's been great having you along. You remind me of my A-level history teacher. His name was Tongai Songore. Unfortunately, the gentleman is late, but he was just as animated as you. And he's one of the men that made me who I am today. But yeah, it's been lovely having you along. Take care.
My pleasure.
Stay safe. Be good. If you can't be good, be good at it. We continue the job summit. There's absolutely phenomenal people that we're meeting here. We've bumped into one of my friends of my youth. Yeah, I know, he looks older. Look, he's got a white beard. Oh, so do I. But we knew each other when we were much younger. He made a much more practical choice. Tinashe would be proud of him. His name is Yusuf. He runs his own business now. When the rest of us went and learned white collar things, he went and learned a practical skill, which has subsequently made him a very wealthy man.
We're getting there.
Yusuf, what do you do now? What's the name of your business? What do you do?
Okay, so my company is called DWM Projects. That's DWM Projects. It's an
Care to
acronym.
elaborate on the? Yeah, okay. It's an acronym.
I still don't know what it stands for. I actually got it in
Is it a
You
shop
just
company?
bought-
I got it in a vision.
Oh, you got it in a
I got it in a
vision.
vision.
Really?
Started this company called DWM and I started it. And we haven't looked back 4 years later. We're still running.
I thought you were going to say the D had something to do with the nickname we used to call you.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember the name?
Dyke. Well, that means something completely different now.
It does.
In those days,
The times have changed.
it wasn't an offensive word.
No, now it is. Yeah, I stay away from that nickname. Yeah.
All right. So what does DWM Projects do?
Well, we major in shop fitting. We also do a lot of renovations. So, property renovations, property maintenance, facilities management. We cover all those kind of areas. So, right from painting, tiling, electrical, plumbing, we cover all that. We've got all those teams. The shop fitting side is basically you give us your shell, you tell us what you want to do, we design your business process for you, and we supply the relevant furniture for your particular business. Yeah.
And we've bumped into each other here because, yes, what are you doing here?
Also, we're at Crystal Lodge, and we are currently renovating Crystal Lodge, the entirety of it.
You manje.
Yeah, in
They're letting you do it. You manje.
How to get along with it? Well, DWM projects. So from the rooms, we've completed the north blocks, which is ABC North, which is that side that faces Samora Machel, and we're currently about to complete the south block of rooms, upstairs and downstairs. They're going to move on to Cool Beans. I'm sure you've seen the Cool Beans coffee
Yeah,
shop.
yeah. I love that business line.
We've
Yes.
we've patronized.
Well, that's from Chatter's Bar, which is further up. That was, yeah, so Chatter's Bar, Chatter's
No,
Restaurant.
our first round was from.
Oh, that's
Kobe's.
Cool Beans. Oh, there's a bar. There's a pool bar on the outside. Very nice one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's also going to be revamped as well at some point.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he's drinking water.
Oh, yes.
So,
The best juice ever.
so this guy chose to learn a practical skill. He went blue collar. We went white collar. He chose to stay sober, and we drink. You be the judge. Who's doing better in life? now he's getting all
Wow.
these big contracts, renovating hotels and all that stuff. But I mean, speaking of those choices, so it's been the job summit. I think you've been too busy to actually go in there and hear what people have been
Yeah.
talking about. But basically, the summit has been trying to talk about the educational system, what jobs are going to look like in the future, trying to shape how we educate and how we prepare our young people to be part of the future workforce.
Yeah.
In terms of choices, I mean, how would you advise someone in their late teens, early 20s today? White collar, blue collar, learn a skill, or go to university?
I'd say, look, we need the entirety of those skills from university to the white collar. The entirety, they're all required, especially where we are as a nation. For example, in my business, when we're running a project, we start from the inception, and at the inception, you require a quantity surveyor, and that's university. I can't just get one.
Can't you do QS at Poly?
I would rather work with a degreed QS, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yes, I've been there and done that and been burnt. Degreed QS for me. Yes.
You're not making friends in polytechnics.
Not at the moment, sorry. The guys from polytechnics are called estimators.
Okay.
Yes.
So they've been lying to us. Yeah.
Well, quantity surveyors, basically start your project because
Yeah.
they put in the cost and see if it's a viable project. So I can't do that. I've got no, in my team, we don't have a quantity surveyor. So I've obviously outsourced that. So you need that whole, mix of
Okay, so
skills. and-
but let's go through it. I mean,
Yeah.
so you did a quantity surveyor. That's a guy who comes and says, oh, no, you start with an architect or some guy who draws a picture, right?
Yes.
And Where do they go to school?
Okay, so the architect, university again.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
But there's people that go to poly that draw plans.
The draftsmen,
Yes.
but that's not the same thing.
Okay. So again,
Draftsmen
you prefer the varsity guys.
They have their place.
Got,
Draftsmen have
for
their
blue collar
place.
guys, got some prejudices.
Guys, I've been in this for over 20 years. I know. The draftsman has his place.
Okay.
The architect will design the building, make sure it's viable. The structural engineer comes and makes sure it can be actually put.
It's not going to collapse.
It won't collapse.
Okay.
You can then bring in the draftsman. Like, let's
No,
share
actually.
the rooms. How do you? Yeah.
Okay.
You know the yeah.
Okay. Then okay, that's been done. So the architect and the draftsman have drawn the pictures. That's it. The QS, sorry, the engineer has confirmed
This is
it won't fall if you
won't
build
fall.
it how it's
This can-
designed.
Yes.
Then comes in a QS.
Yes.
Who-
This is how much this will cost.
Okay.
This is
Does it
This
make
is-
sense? Yeah.
Does it make sense to actually run this project, guys? This is how much it will cost, and you'll probably work with the project manager, unless he also is the project manager, and say this project will probably take you 6 months, 8 months to a year. Can you sustain this with the current costs and budgets?
Okay.
Yeah, that's his job.
Then who comes after that?
Then the project manager will come, the project manager, and he will then allocate
The tasks.
the tasks to the different workmen or different companies, subcontractors, etc.
The builders, the plumbers, the electricians.
Right through, all the way down.
Okay.
Yes.
The guys with the bulldozers. And
So while I don't disagree with anything that you guys have said, what my view is that the problem is not the problem is actually asking the question, blue collar, white collar, or creating a narrative where everybody has to go to university. I think that the market should decide, right? And the framework which we live in now, the conventional narrative, is that if you don't go to university, somehow you failed in life. Like if even I'll take it even a step further and say, if you don't go from O level to A level, oh my gosh, what a disaster. But for certain skills, you actually don't need to go to A level, and you can actually have a meaningful, productive life, going straight into apprenticeship after your O's, and be perfectly okay. And I think the market should decide. You know,
but you
society.
can't advise that you can't say to your son, well, the market should decide what you do.
No, but even you, if you are the principal advisor of a child, right? You know, if that human being has the talents of the next Einstein, then yeah, sure, they should go to varsity and go to postgrad and perhaps pursue a vocation which requires that level of education. But if the child is a talented athlete or doesn't have capacity to go far academically, then have an honest conversation, right?
No, but I mean, what do you think? I mean, he's kind of positioning it as a second choice.
Okay, look, I'm old school, and the way we did it back in the day, I did an apprentice training at Shabani Mashaba Gold Mines back in the day. The way they used to
And what was the skill you learned?
electrical, as an electrician originally.
Okay.
So how they sifted people to say, okay, this guy will go further to university, or this guy will end at diploma or certificate level, is through those tests, abilities tests. They did all those tests, and those tests don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
So they would say to this guy, look, you've passed this. This is your percentage. We think you've got the ability to go further to your education to university. And if the guy's interested, they would actually send you to university.
Okay.
Now I think we're just leaving the kids to make their own decisions, and we're not guiding them enough. That's what the problem is.
Have you seen that
Guidance.
joke? It's hilarious. So basically you've got a guy who has got a degree in philosophy, right? And you know, so there's a picture of the person, and there's a caption about how he looks dimly on people who don't have a university education, right? Then there's a guy who's an electrician, and he's at the philosopher's house. Okay, and, they also talk about the guy who went to university. He's drowning in like $100,000 university student debt. Okay, and then they have a picture of an electrician, didn't go to university, has zero debt, right? And what is he doing right now? He's at the philosopher graduate's house, switching off his electricity bill.
I'll see that one.
because he hasn't paid his bill, right? And so who's doing better in life? right, between the two of them. One's got a degree in philosophy, can't pay his electricity bills. The other guy doesn't have a degree, but he's got no debt and he's paying his own bills.
Okay, but coming back to you, okay, so how the apprenticeship system you went through,
Yes.
is that still functioning in this country?
It is still functioning, but it's way underfunded. That's the problem.
What do you mean it's way underfunded? We all pay money to ZimDev.
Should I go? Okay, let me not even go there. It's not finding its way where it should. When I was back in the, when I was an apprentice, I'll get a ZimDev loan. I had a full toolbox from the beginning.
The government gave you money to buy your tools.
Gave me money to buy tools, proper tools. The proper standards, expensive ones. You know what I'm saying?
No, so you had to go to some office with an invoice from
Yes.
a proper company.
Well, I went through college.
Yeah.
But if you via a company, you could go through a company to give you a letter. But I got a letter from the college I went to. Give me a letter, go to ZimDev.
And this was a polytechnic.
Polytechnic.
Which one?
Masvingo.
Something good. Sorry.
I like this.
Sorry, carry on.
Got my tools, and there's a point where they were stolen. I went back, they're like, okay, and give me another loan.
The government paid for your stolen.
Yeah, but I had to pay twice. I had to pay with the loan back.
Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, they found me. They couldn't run.
And when you paid back that loan, in real terms,
Rabbit hole. Carry on.
I know he's headed.
Yes, I know it.
It was
it-
bad.
Thank you.
I paid through the teeth.
Okay, so the government paid for your toolbox.
Yes.
Did you have to pay anything at the polytechnic?
Well, just fees.
Oh, but you had to pay your own fees.
I paid my own fees, yeah. I did.
And then afterwards you had to pay it back. And what's happening now for someone in the same position?
All the apprentices I come across aren't getting the loans. They don't get loans. They're told, go to this company, go on secondment, and you may get paid an allowance by the company, which doesn't always happen. So they come to. I've hired lots of apprentices. They've qualified. They don't even have one tool on them, and they have to go to the painstaking process of buying them tools, and tools aren't cheap.
Okay, but you're registered as a place to do apprentices?
Yes, I'm registered.
Apprenticeships?
Yes, I am registered.
So you're giving back to the system. And are your peers also doing the same?
Yeah, they are. Because we realize there's a skills shortage in this country. You've got to train these guys up. You can't just get someone from college, Polytech. Okay, there we go. I said it. And assume they'll know what you want done at the company. All company cultures are different. So you get this guy, he's got a few skills, a bit of knowledge. Put skills into him, and he absorbs your culture, and then, he becomes part of the team.
So you're giving back. Is the system working? Are we producing, they're not called apprentices, they're not called graduates, they're called what? Journeymen.
Journeyman.
Why are they
or
called journeymen?
guildsman.
I've never known why they call journeyman.
Guildsman.
Guildsman was when there was sitting guilds,
Okay.
which was the superior exam to national
Okay.
certificate.
To Hexco,
Hexco. Yeah, and they were called,
guildsmen.
Guildsman.
Okay, so are you getting journeymen, when you get these journeymen and they come with their fancy certificates, are they ready? Do they know
They
what
are
you
never
think they
ready.
should know?
They never, not one.
Why?
In the past 5 years or 6 years have I seen someone that's ready to start work and I say, right, there's a new toolbox, go.
Why?
I think from what I've noticed is there's a huge chasm between the knowledge and the skill. A huge chasm. What they're being taught is not what's happening on the ground.
But when you did your apprenticeship,
It was.
so sorry, what they're being taught is not what's happening on the ground.
Yeah.
Why is that?
We've moved up in terms of technology and
And the colleges haven't.
they're not being taught the stuff that we are working with now. They're not.
Really?
So the problem is with the academics; they're just not keeping up with the trends, with the
trends.
technology.
Yes.
So what needs to happen? What
What's
do we
happening
need
is
to
that the world is now open. People are bringing in machinery, and there's no one that's able to.
But what kind of people do you find in faculty at these politics doing the teaching? I mean, because the way it's supposed to work is you get the best and brightest from industry who've actually got years of experience and know what the current state of the sector is.
Yes.
And then they go and they actually participate in putting together the curriculum. So what kind of people do we have
teaching
are teaching?
I can't answer that. Back in the day, that was the story. All my lecturers when I was training were ex-artisans, ex-engineers, and they'd come to, because their passion was teaching, they'd come to lecture at the college. Now I can't really say that's the same story. I
Are you
do
lecturing?
not think I'm not lecturing
Why aren't you?
because I'm building my business.
No, why aren't you
haven't
giving
got-
a couple of hours a week back to the college.
That's a good point.
Okay, so
Challenge accepted.
I'm an accountant. You know
Right.
that, but accounting is not a profession; it's a trade. I'm a tradesman like you.
Well, it used to be a
okay.
trade. I mean, now it's done by software.
Yes. Yeah. Half his job is done by software as well.
No, actually, you need a physical human being on the premise actually to do stuff in terms of your renovations, or you can't do it on a
You
desktop.
can't.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but okay. So I volunteer at the PAAB, the Public Accountants and Auditors Board, and I sit on the education committee. Okay, you know, it's a couple of hours every quarter, but I do my bit because there
Yeah.
won't be new accountants produced if old accountants.
You don't
are
do
not-
it just so that you can put it on your CV.
It's not on my CV. It's actually not on my CV because I do too many things. And I'll never get a job if people see all the things I do outside work. So isn't that half the
Well,
problem,
that's-
that we're not giving back?
You've identified a major problem because we just in there building our businesses, like I said, and keeping our heads in the ground, but wondering what's happening out there. So I think we should.
I mean, you think about it. You've got a guy who's working at Masvingo Polytechnic, right? And he's been lecturing electrical. It's not called electrical engineering at Polytech. What is it called?
That's called it.
Okay, he's lecturing electrical
Yeah.
engineering in Masvingo, and he's been doing this for 20 years. And tell me an example of one of the new fancy things that you guys deal with now.
Well, I've shifted from electrical to carpentry, as I told you. So I'd probably call.
Okay, but
CNC
look,
machine,
look,
okay.
a modern DB. A modern
Okay.
DB doesn't look like an old DB, right? A distribution box.
different.
If I look at a distribution box in my house and I look at a distribution box in my parents' house, they're different.
Worlds apart.
Wiring is different. Apparently now you don't put the wires in the ceiling, you must put them on the floor and all this. Now, where do you expect this lecturer in Masvingo to have learned that wiring has changed and it goes on the floor? So that when you get a young journeyman who joins your company, he's not climbing through the ceiling and causing fires.
Yeah.
And when he goes shopping for the things that go inside the DB, what's he going to buy? He's going to buy that big, ugly metal one because that's the one he saw
Yes.
At school.
at school.
Yeah. Well, if I go back to electrical, when I was at college and studying, there's a regulation book that they use worldwide called the IEE Wiring Regulations. When I was at college many years ago, the world was at 16. We were still at 13. So that's where the problem is.
16 what?
It's 16th
16
edition.
rules. Oh, 16th edition.
Edition.
Okay.
And we were at 13th edition.
Then,
Then, when the world was at 16th edition, then
yeah.
we were like 3
Editions
seasons
behind.
behind. Yeah.
And now you have no idea.
I have no
We're
idea.
probably still on 13th.
I hope not. I'm just saying we lag behind technology and knowledge. That's the problem.
And yet the businesses aren't, right? So I presume your client here, we can talk about Cresta, they're your
Yeah,
client.
yeah,
They have international guests,
Yeah.
they have international airlines that use their hotels. So I presume there's fancy people that come from somewhere, other parts of the world,
Oh, yeah.
to come and check that this hotel can't burn down.
Yeah.
So that means whatever work you're doing is compliant enough that these fancy people from the other side of the world don't think the hotel can burn down with their pilots in it.
So we've had to research and sit down with the hotel, Krista, and say, they'd come to us and said, look, our sister hotels out there, this is what the new regulations, they abide by this. Can you do this in Zim?
And you've had to go to Google.
We've had to go to South Africa.
I myself with that.
Yeah. We had to go across the Limpopo to get these things because you cannot get them here, obviously, like fancy fire detection systems and room call systems and stuff. Because the guests know this stuff, they experience it out there. So when they come here, they want to pay, they pay top dollar and they want to make sure that they experience, you know, the safety and the comfort that they would experience back there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you reckon the solution is we got to go back to the colleges and we got to fix the colleges.
But who will do that? Who will go back to the colleges?
You
This is the challenge, okay?
you guys in
But
business.
we need government ear, isn't it? The government's ear to this, because they're the ones that will then fund any upgrades, any changes in the curriculum, changes in the, what the kids have been taught.
Okay, so there's a new fancy fire system that is, in your previous example,
Yeah.
version 16. The college is teaching version 13. But when you put in version 16 at Crystal Lodge, you're taking out a version 15.
Right.
Would your client object horribly if you said, can I take version 15 to my alma mater in Mashiko? Why is it, anyway, to Mashiko? So the kids can learn something more modern.
Well, it
And
depends
are
on
we
the-
doing that?
Depends on the corporate social responsibility. I don't know if that's part of their culture. But it's something that we could obviously recommend to them.
Or when you buy tools and you modernize your tool set,
Yeah.
why don't you take the old tools back to Mashiko?
Haven't thought of
Tinashe will be very proud.
I know
If you,
it's
if you,
too
if you
bad.
took them to Mbira, it would be even better. Tinashe will be
Oh, to
extremely,
me?
Tinashe will be extremely happy.
But that's food for thought, definitely. For thought. There's a lot that can be done to improve. If you ask around, especially a lot of construction going around, and the main complaint is skills are not there, quality is not there anymore.
Really.
Yes, that's the main complaint.
Yeah, apparently a lot of our artisans end up in South Africa and other more rewarding markets because, they value the skills and they pay better. So maybe it makes sense from an entrepreneurial perspective to actually build a school and have a pipeline of the skills and offload them to the region.
If it
Yusuf?
makes sense, Mr. Accountant?
I'm not an accountant anymore.
Not anymore.
Yusuf, it's been great having you.
Thank you for having me. I really
Good
appreciate
seeing
it.
you again.
And good talking to you guys.
Nice to see that I'm not the only one going grey. I'm not the only one losing my hair. I think I
that's-
actually have more hair. than
Yeah,
you
this
on
comes
the
with the
top of my head.
territory of business, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. But also with age.
Oh yes, there's that.
It's been lovely having you along. Stay safe. Be good. If you can't be good at it.